Back in your right mind, you are the emblem of America. Suited up, vibrating, melanated, copper-colored, not dark, not black. Original, the original emblem of the Americas. Shout out to our queens. Yeah, man. Because when it comes down to it, you got to choose what you observe. You know, that's why witnessing is so important. It's important to witness, right? But what do you witness? Because you're going to collapse the wave pattern, but what are you going to witness? What is your intention? I mean, we behind enemy lines now, dog. America's now a new experiment, a melting pot, and you're no longer the emblem of this corporation. You just want paper and plastic. Ask her about paper. Ask her about plastic. Let's go, man. What rituals are we doing? All right. So what we call on October 31st is nothing to do with Halloween unless you're just discussing All Hallows Eve. Because then you got All Saints Day, right? All Souls Day. It's a 3-day festival, man. It really goes to November 2nd, man. It's a 3-day festival, man. Celtic spiritual tradition, modern times, Samhain, Samhain is usually celebrated on October 31st. So it's more than just dressing your kids up. It's about witnessing. It's about the rituals. And what's this ritual about that you're giving energy to? Thinking, oh, well, everyone's doing it. My nigga, you got days to have fun. You just got to walk in your own shoes because your days are about remembering your triumph, your victory, that Hawa's rocking with you for eternity. That's what your days are about. Their days are about death. Their days are about darkness. Sign of Syphilis. Yeah, man, we're going to talk some more about this shepherd, man. Yeah, we're going to connect a few more things and just, let it continue. I just want to bring some attention, man, as our family might feel caught up in this web, Christmas and this and that. Just know, man, we don't celebrate death, you know what I mean? We don't celebrate darkness. What harvest? What harvest? The harvest of souls. And usher in the dark half of the year. What is dark? Wholly or partially black. What is black? Atrociously wicked, horrible, black deed or crime. Now they got you caught up with this term black. It's criminal to be black. Are you black? Are you part of the criminality of these deeds? This horrible, this wicked, this atrociously wicked vibration. Is that you? Are you black? Is she black? The emblem of America? Is she black? I mean, See, these are black people, you know what I mean? Atrociously wicked, dismal. They got you thinking you're black. You're speaking their language. If you're speaking your language, right? Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter. Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter named Louis Torres to holler at this sister. Did he call her black? She would call black Shakawa. Shakawa. That's the color. But she knows they're not talking color. They're calling her wicked. You think she's celebrating Samhain? Ushering in the wicked? No, they found this sister in paradise. She's the emblem of America. They found the sister in paradise. And they did atrociously wicked things. They're ushering in the wicked half of the year. Celebrants believe that the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world break down during Samhain. They break down. So now they can cross the barrier, get across the barrier to the other, energies that are in the middle ground, because it's talking about denizens, allowing more interaction between humans and denizens, right? Fallen ones. Stuck in the middle. Stuck in a middle state between an alien and natural born subject. So you could say demigods, right? Because they would consider a god an alien to the, terrestrial, whatever, you know what I mean? And then you got the natural born. So one is a god and one is natural. And then they have a demigod who's in a middle state, a middle state. Now this creature in the middle state, he may take land, man. He could take your land by purchase or device. But an alien cannot. He cannot take by inheritance. So this goes on many levels. You're talking English, right? So the land is really talking about you. These hijack demigods can hijack you. You know what I'm saying? It says, but he cannot take by inheritance. He may take land by purchase or device, but see, the alien cannot. So, you know what I mean? The God, right, cannot take land by purchase or device. And the natural has land by inheritance. They're in a middle state, right? So let's say their father, the alien, right? He doesn't have an inheritance here. The alien, which an alien cannot take land by purchase or device, but he cannot take by inheritance because he has no inheritance, because his papa had no inheritance. But he can now take land, and the alien couldn't. The so-called God couldn't take the land, but the demigod, his seed with the natural born, sure can take land. Demigod, denizens, that's why they needed the demis. That's why they needed the demis to take land. Because in their alien state, they cannot. Now, they don't have the inheritance because they're not natural. They have no inheritance, so they take land by device. We're just talking Columbus. We're just talking Syphilis. They invent a way to take your land. They contrive a plan to form in the mind. You're in the mind of a hijack by new combinations of ideas, new applications of principles, New Testament, new applications of principles, or new arrangement of parts They're syncretizing. They're trying to fuse, to trying to invent or contrive, to strike out by thought, to plan. They have a scheme. Papu Bull, Doom Diverses. To project, to devise an engine or machine, to devise a new mode of writing, to devise a plan of defense, to devise arguments, to devise curious works. In a bad sense, to give or bequeath by will as land or other real estate. To give or bequeath by will as land. Here we go, back to this land. So since they don't have an inheritance, they can sure get it through a will. But you have to be willing to make the deal. You got to be willing to make the deal. To consider, to contrive, to lay out a plan. I mean, I think you're getting it, man. I think you're getting it. A dividing, a division, duality. A will or testament. The New Testament is the new will. The New Testament is the new will that was contrived, that was invented. It's a new arrangement. That's what the denizens do. So he may take land by purchase or inventing a scheme. Because he sure don't got inheritance, because he's not natural born. So when you're celebrating and putting energy into their rituals, Samhain, Samhain, October 31st, right? Just know it's a 3-day ceremony. It's a 3-day ceremony, ushering in the dark half of the year, the wicked half, the atrociously wicked. Celebrants, participants believe that the barriers between physical world and spirit world break down during Samhain, allowing more interaction between humans and denizens, the ones in the middle of the other world. This is what you're participating in. Ancient Samhain, All Hallows Eve, Halloween, also called Hollow Miss. Like Christmas, Hollow Miss. Right? I mean, it's all the same when you're worshiping the dog, right? The dark sun, the black hole sun. Won't you come? Come on, man. When you're worshiping the dog, silence of Syphilis. Yeah, man. I'm going to get into your comments, man. We're going to pick it up and look at different variations of this Syphilis. Go back with the shepherd Syphilis, look into a couple more stories on that. Look into the king that he was supposed to be worshiping, which, either is his father or just, he's coming up under him, in some type of apprentice way, So we're going to go into that and see how that's connected with Atlantis directly. So this Syphilis, Christopher is all Atlantis hijacked, like we've been saying. Egyptian hijack, the same hijack that's been hijacking the Hebrew. The same eagle. And we're going to get into, some interesting mythology connected with this Atlantis and this Columbus, this St. Christopher who carried this Syphilis, who died of a sexually transmitted disease. Syphilis. I got to give Ahab to this brother right here, man. Let's just get a couple, man, just to get warmed up. This is the legend of the Jews, the creation of the world, the third day. I introduced the brother already, but, You got to get in there and surf the wave, man. Original Dragon sponsor on the wall. I look forward to having a brother on this, great journey on our Ether squad, man. I mean, we gotta have a brother. We gotta have this brother, man. You know what I'm saying? Straight delivering, the water, man, in the most purified fashion, the way he does it, because he does it. Go get his drop on Instagram. Go get his drop here. He's just popping off his YouTube channel, just like Yosef the Real. High level mastermind this brother is. And I appreciate both the bros for taking this step to get the information to the flock, man, to the tribe. So this is going to connect perfectly. You know what I'm saying? When we talk the indigenous, then you can get a picture of the emblem. You can get a picture of the emblem. So let's get a couple minutes here, and we're going to take it right into this shepherd called Syphilis, man. And we're going to talk about the comments, your comments, and, go ahead and get that drop. Let's keep surfing the wave. I don't know what Nick be on, but I know he be on. I know he be on. You know what I mean? Let's go.
What up? I pray all is well with you as you are sitting down to take this in. We're going back into the legends of the Jews. We in the creation of the world, and we're going into the third day. Up to this time, the earth was a plain and wholly covered with water. Sentence number 1 of the third day. We're going to get that one more time.
Let go.
Up to this time, the earth was a plain and wholly covered with water. Scarcely had the words of God, let the waters be gathered together, and made themselves heard, when mountains appeared all over, and hills, and the water collected in the deep-lying basins. But the water was recalcitrant. It resisted the order to occupy the lowly spots, and threatened to overflow the earth, until God forced it back into the sea, and encircled the sea with sand. Now, whenever the water is tempted to transgress his bounds, it beholds the sand, and it recoils. The water did but imitate their chief, Rahab, the angel of the sea, who rebelled at the creation of the world. God had commanded Rahab to take in the water, but he refused, saying, I have enough. The punishment for his disobedience was death. His body rests in the depths of the sea, the water dispelling the foul odor that emanates from it.
And that sounds like the Leviathan, right? I mean, kind of like the opposite, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you got a good dragon of the sea, Leviathan, who gets sacrificed, you know what I mean, for the righteous, possibly the firmament is being formed out of Leviathan scales, you know what I mean? Leviathan meat for the righteous, you know what I mean? All this stuff we got in Leviathan. But why is it connected with the devil? Mainly, probably because of this chief Ra, the angel of the sea, who rebelled at the creation of the world. Sounds like the devil to me. But instead of this angel in the air, it's an angel in the sea. Ra. Very interesting, man. Go ahead, my bro. Let's get a couple more minutes. We just surfing the wave.
The main creation of the third day was the realm of plants, the terrestrial plants, as well as the plants of paradise. First of all, the cedars of Lebanon and the other great trees were made. In their pride at having been put first, they shot up high in the air. They considered themselves the favored among plants. Then God spake, I hate arrogance and pride, for I alone am exalted, and none beside. And he created the iron on the same day, the substance with which trees are felled down. The trees began to weep, and when God asked the reason for their tears, they said, we cry because thou hast created the iron to uproot us therewith. All the while, we had thought ourselves the highest of the earth, and now the iron, our destroyer, has been called into existence. God replied, you yourselves will furnish the axe with the handle, Without your assistance, the iron will not be able to do aught against you. Man, the Most High is always true to himself. I guess that's what it means when it says never changing. As far as like, he hates arrogance. And when anybody tries to exalt themselves over someone else, he sees fit to step in and make and equalize it and balance it out. And that's dope. I appreciate it. Let's continue. The command to bear seed after their kind was given to the trees alone. But the various sorts of grass reasoned that if God had not desired divisions according to the classes, he would not have instructed the trees to bear fruit after their kind with the seed thereof in it, especially as trees are inclined of their own accord to divide themselves into species. The grasses, therefore, reproduced themselves also after their kind. This prompted the exclamation of the Prince of the world, "Let the glory of the Lord endure forever. Let the Lord rejoice in his works." Man, yo, that last sentence was so manifold. To divide themselves according to divisions, he only gave it to the trees. But they paid attention to what he told the trees and reasoned within themselves that if he wanted the trees to do it, it would make sense for us to do it as well.
Wow.
And then to solidify that, after the grasses reasoned this way and came to this conclusion, it prompted the exclamation of the Prince of the world to say, "Let the glory of the Lord endure forever. Let the Lord rejoice in his works." Because his works can look at what has been done already, reason within themselves, and figure out what they need to do next to keep going. Yeah.
That's deep right there, man. I don't know what Nick be on, but Nick be on, man. Subscribe to the bro. Click the link below. And let go, man. I mean, y'all been dropping pertinent information, including my bro Nick's been dropping pertinent information in the comments as well. So, hey, up to you. Let's just surf the wave with a few of these comments, man, because, you know, you take the time to drop them, man. I truly, deeply, sincerely appreciate it over here. So, you know, this is how I, you know, address them. You know what I mean? I like to do it live in full effect. I'm starting going live a little more, man. You know, now that I'm getting kind of resettled and all that, man. It's all good. To go over these comments, man, do our giveaways, get all that stuff popping off, man. We're just recouping, restacking, and you know, saying the vision is growing, man. The vision is growing. Wow. So Jackie Anthony talking about this Columbus, man. First of all, man, we're gonna get back into like I said, syphilis. Remember how it said he's coming out of Ophir, right? The biblical Ophir. Go get that drop, part 1 and 2, man. I know it's 2 and 3 hours and all that, but that's just how we roll. That's just how we roll in the ether, man. You know what I mean? Let's go. Get the drop. But remember, you know, he's coming out of biblical Ophir. And, you know, hopefully I get to the bro so I can get his name right, man. But the bro said, you know, I don't mean to be reaching. I hope I'm not reaching. But are we just talking Christ Ophir? I said, oh, damn, man. I showed Chef Candy. She said, oh, damn. Christopher, like Columbus. Christopher, like Saint Christopher. Christ Ophir. Remember, Saint Christopher is known for carrying a child, an unknown child across a dangerous water or river or ocean. And then later the child reveals that he is a Christ or the Christ. So this is around 200 or 300. So how does that connect with Jesus, right? Unless we're just talking about an anointed, a shepherd. Now you got the same shepherd Syphilis who's being taken across these waters by another Christopher, except instead of Saint Christopher, it's Christopher Columbus. He's taking this shepherd Syphilis from Haiti or Ophir, and his name is Christopher. His title is Christopher. Christ Ophir. He brought their anointed, right? He brought their dog anointed to Haiti. Christ Ophir. Hopefully I get to that, bro, man. Let's go, man. This is Drop Nation, man. We've been patiently waiting, and it's all happening. So let's start with this one. My sister Jackie Anthony says Christopher Columbus tells of digital, something like that, several times in his journals. One kind, the questionable caribs, with dog facial features, the dumb dogs who did not bark. Archaeologists have since found bones but do not know what species they are. This Columbus was involved in sex slaving, rape, torture, and also had armored dogs, man. So we said, what kind of dogs were they sicking on us, right? The war dogs that the French were coming with, that the English were coming with. The war dogs are the army of Syphilis, man. All right, these so-called warrior, dog-headed, folks, who had the curse of syphilis. They were cursed with syphilis. They are the Syphilis. It's something that was keeping them in check. Whether it was from, the creator or some, Apollo, like they say, Apollo cursed them. It was keeping them in check. And we're just digging on this Stephen or Esteban. Did Columbus bring Esteban across the water, man? Is he syphilis? Connected with Atlantis, right? Ain't the cities ago always talking about Esteban's people are from Atlantis? Well, syphilis is also connected with Atlantis. Is syphilis Saint Stephen? Esteban that Saint Christopher Columbus brought from, let's say, Haiti, over to Europe or Spain, and then came back and, helped him get voyages back with the Coronado expedition later on when he was in his 20s to help find the cities of gold. So he's now working with them, but he was found here, captured here. Is he the syphilis? All right, let's go. Because this is the emblem of America, So my sister said that they was putting the armored dogs on us, wink, wink, who chased Indians for hunt. The dogs were fed human flesh. Indians used for dog food. This article is vivid and really explains these lunatics as a complete thought. I had to review your video. RT Daniel Bushnell. All right. Thanksgiving is not what you think. They came, found paradise in it. They dug up and ate dead Indian graves. So if you remember that drop we dropped on that they came and they found you in paradise, man. They found you in paradise and they dug you up and they started eating you now. Who started eating you? The dog-headed, the Syphilis. What if they were the dogs of war and the indigenous were in their sick Game of Thrones? So you got a Game of Thrones popping off, just like the show. So much of this, links up, with all the visuals they're giving us, in real time, So that's why we dig on it. That's why we get the dropout. So who are the armored dogs? And the sister has this other link, 1883 map of Georgia, USA, Ophir. Remember, he is Christ Ophir, near Macedonia, near Bird Mountain, talking Rock, Jerusalem, in Georgia. We got an Ophir connected with Georgia. Sorry, yeah, we ain't got to get stuck on one Ophir, man. We don't got to get stuck on only one Ophir. Sister dropped a lot of drop on that Georgia drop, and we will be talking Georgia again. Okay, she just dropped this Mizab. She just dropped this map, you know what I mean? There we go right there. OPHIR. Ophir. Right in Cherokee country, man. Right in Cherokee country, man. So we got Ophir right here, man. Remember the Hyborian War map? It's kind of the same area, man. So then you got Jerusalem up here as well. Jerusalem. All right, all right. Bird Mountain. I mean, I think it's all happening. You got Johntown. I'll press the Johntown. Then you got a Juno. Now keep Juno in mind because Juno actually plays when you talk about this Saint Shepherd Syphilis. If I'm not mistaken, Juno actually saves his life from getting sacrificed. You know what I'm saying? So you got a sacrifice popping off of this same saint, this same Stephen, right? Who's connecting with this, you know what I'm saying, Saint Christopher. So we know we're just talking Syphilis, man. Y'all might hear my little homie activate, man. You know what I mean? It's all good. He's just activating, man. He's just activating, man. It's all happening, man. All right, man. My sister Jackie Anthony got the drive, man. Ahab. Always Ahab. Gigantic Slayer makes sense why there's a Buddha statue in the Grand Canyon, man. Real spill. If math was taught like this in school, the wisdom the children had, yeah, man, you know, it's all coming out of us, though. You know what I mean? It's something that we are remembering, so that's what we got to do. I would love to see what a musician can do as well with this information. That Om is powerful in the chakra. I use it to ease pain when it's that womanly time. Hey, energy, frequency, vibration. Love to my sister Kenya B, man. Certified wave surfer. Certified wave surfer. Henry Williams, these man, King Drive, you have never disappointed me with the knowledge that you bring to light. Much high respect to Wadata Wa. All honor to Wa. Hey, hi, Henry Williams. Michael L. God's dog. Got to go back with that drop right in your face bone. So, you know, you got to get out that frequency. I mean, the first step you take is stop calling the creator God. You know, when you are being aware, when you got awareness, that doesn't really slip out of your mouth. You know what I mean? Let's go. The Day of the Jackal is a French political movie said to, oh, hold on, up to Michael L., man. VKNYC AI. The Day of the Jackal is a French political movie said to be based on true events, but it's not what they say. We gotta look at the Day of the Jackal. Quit it, drop dogs. I thought love trees. Derwin Walker surfing the wave, man. He said the water, how much a Hive King for all Drop Nation does. Hey, my bro Derwin. T2 goggles, what it do? She dropped a pretty cold drop on Ophir as well. She said Ophir was said to have the finest gold in the world. It's where King Solomon would get his gold, a shipment every 3 years, along with silver, sandalwood, and other luxurious things. Haiti is said to be sitting on a mountain of gold and also has the finest iridium in the world. I'm Haitian, and thanks to your video, the history of why my people are being so oppressed is getting clearer. They also thought Peru was Ophir, as well as Desalegn referred to the Haitian army as Army of Incas. When he was kicking the French's ass, man, love the T2 goggles, man. Yeah, so you got Peru as an Ophir, man. I mean, it's just a title, so we got to really narrow it down to the Ophir that is connected with the Syphilis. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's the next step. Is it in Peru? Is it in Haiti? Are we talking? Yeah, man. Hold up, man. Are we just talking Georgia with the Cherokee? You already know the indigenous, you know what I'm saying, Hebrew connection with these tribes, especially linking through dragging canoe, you know, the Chickamauga. All right. Okay, let's get a couple more comments. Hey, I have the two goggles. That was great. Yeah, JDL Light Sword of Truth. He says, yo, at 29 minute and jaw dropping shepherd lad called Syphilis, the sheep herder shepherd. What? That's rough. rough. My man. I appreciate you, Light Sword of Truth, JDL. Desmond Williams said, I could be wrong, but from everything we studied, this is my conclusion. All right, he's surfing the wave, man. What you got, man? He said, check this out. Lucifer means light bringer or bearer. Lucifer, Israelites, or Lucifer is real life. Dragon. All right. We're seeing how they flipping it up. Adam the Canaanite. Okay, so is Adam the hijack seed? You know what I mean? Is that more of a story that connect with them? I mean, hey, remember what Max Spears said, man? Everything's been flipped. You got Cain and Abel. Is that flip? Are we talking Khan and a Bejel? We're going to talk Bejel. We're about to talk Bejel in a second. He says Adam, Khan, or Cain, Khan at night. First human or wild man, Adam, Khan at night. Now for movies that we know of, werewolves can change at night. Under a full moon, Cain at night, and can ignite true light. Now you have to say those things too fast. I did a post on this, Jack. Hey, man, we just surfing the wave, man. Hey, it's all happening, man. Natchez and Mauro Khan, he says when John Jacques Dessalines was another Dessalines drop, went into revolt in 1802 against the French in Haiti, he gave to the people that accepted his authority the name of Incas or Children of the Sun. So two of the wave surfers, man, is kicking in this Dessalines, man. Left in Natchez and Maru Khan. For months, his soldiers called them Sons of the Sun, huh? And his Inca also seemed to be connected with this Genghis Khan situation until they abandoned those names for an indigene, meaning native. We digging on it, Amaru Khan, Natchez, Brian McClure, Wave Surfer, what it do, man? Body bag and toe tag. It's all happening, man. Daniel 12 in effect, Drop Nation, let go. Shalom to the tribes, man. Hey, Brian McClure, David Maynard, man, enjoy the ride down the rabbit hole. Hey, Susu says it's epic. Hey, oh, man, we got a dragon pool once a year, so-called an angel or dragon will stir the waters for healing. Sounds like that Fountain of Youth tribe, man. Sounds like that Fountain of Youth tribe, man. Love to Teshuvah. Yeah, do it. Yeah. Huda. All right, man. Let's get one more. Yolanda Turner says the Moabites had all to do with this nasty ass shit they had going on. That's why the Most High said don't fuck with them either. Matter of fact, don't even touch them. Yeah, Most High was going in on Moab. I mean, we know that. But I don't blame nobody, man, for what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? We had to have, loosen up our defenses somewhat to allow this level of hijack. You know what I'm saying? We can't be 100 on our guard and get hijacked to this, degree. I just don't, I can't conceive us being sharp as attack and being hijacked. You know what I mean? So, if anything, we got to sharpen up. You know what I mean? Open the market up. You know what I mean? Love to Yolanda Turner, man. Hey, man, we just surfing the wave, man. We talking Cristobal. Man, I don't see the bro's comment. I'm sure it's in here, man. But love to you, bro. You know you are. He said, Christ, oh fur, oh fear, oh fur. Christ, oh fur, oh fur, oh fur. Where's that again? Where's oh fur at again? Oh fur, O-P-H-R, man. Oh fur. Hey, man, that's the drop right there, man. That's the drop because they just found you here, my nugget. They found you in Ophir, man. Where's her gold? Where's her things, man? Where's your gold? Where's your stuff, man? Let's go. Okay, we good. Okay, let's go. Now you remember we just talking about a shepherd. Just talking about a shepherd. In the Syphilis, this poem that we dug on, right? Get that part too. The Native American shepherd Syphilis is accused of having been the first to contract the eponymous disease as a punishment for his idolatry and piety. And we read that he got punished by the god Apollo because he didn't want to worship Apollo no more. And we compared that, with the whole St. Christopher situation as well, man, or was it St. Stephen I think it was St. Stephen who didn't want to worship the devil no more, wanted to try to find this other Mashiach, you know what I mean? And now we connect that with this Christopher Columbus because to them he is a Messiah. He's like their Moses, man. He brought them to a new world. So it blew our mind bone, man, that we just are talking an indigenous Native American shepherd. I know syphilis has a bad connotation, but apparently this was, this title already given to this shepherd, right? Oh man. I mean, what kind of shepherd are we talking about, man? Like a German shepherd, man? Love to AD the truth signal, man. Native American shepherd called Syphilis, right? So we know we're just talking dog-headed people, and this Syphilis has everything to do with this race of dog-headed people. And I mean, it goes on and on, man. It goes on and on, man. You think they're just painting this for no reason? Huh? You think they made Stephen look a little normal and then St. Christopher look dog-headed for no reason? There is always that possibility. Remember, the possibility is still in play that they're still the same people, that Stephen is St. Christopher. I mean, maybe in two different countenances. Some say that when they got baptized, they lost their dog-headedness. So you got dogs walking around us today, in this magic or spell that's cloaking their dog-headedness. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's go. So we got a shepherd syphilis accused of being the first to contract this disease. All right. The contact that Columbus and his crew made with the Native Americans during the process of colonization brought syphilis to their world, making Americans the culprit for the spread of the plague. They were already in a plague, but they started screwing beast as they've always done, and now they turned it into a venereal problem. Now this is something they weren't prepared for, because all they doing is spreading now a venereal disease that was supposed to strictly be cursing the dog-headed Syphilis and his people. Whether this was from the creator or from Apollo or from some other so-called deity, this was a specific disease that's connected with dogs. Now when it became transferred into the human, We can read about all the epidemic with the skin and the boils, and pretty much it was called leprosy. So when you're reading about it in the script, leprosy, a lot of times you're just referring to syphilis, man. And we're going to read about how Columbus found an indigenous American cure for that he brought back for this leprosy, this syphilis. Let's go. Let's belly flop right quick to page 36. Pull up all these links. You got it, man. You got the drive. Pull them up. Now you remember, just for kicks, we talk these maps. We find these syphilis on these maps, right? These dog-headed people be even on the Perry Reese map. We gotta get that again. 1492, Columbus arrived in America. Remember, Esteban Stephen was born in 1500. All right, so it's all overlapping. So Stephen, Saint Stephen, could easily be Saint Esteban, right? He was convinced that the lands where he landed during his voyage were near Kapango, Japan. Unless you've been surfing the wave, we're talking America, we're talking Cuba. And they had this whole monarch who was at war with another Khan, and one was stationed in Cuba. Where's Japan, my naga? Where's Japan, my naga? Kapango, right? Japan. This is Cuba, right by the mainland of North America. You got Florida right here, Barbados. Here's your Haiti or your Ophir. King of Spain, his islands, there's much gold, right? So there's always gold when you talk Ophir. Here came the master Christopher Columbus. Where? Haiti. Now look how close Haiti is to Antarctica, man. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. And there's no ice, man. Remember, there's no ice. Now here it says they worship the devils and all that. Well, I don't take them as face value for nothing. I don't know if they worship the devil because they're the devil. You know what I'm saying? So whatever's going on over there is going down. All right. And again, there's no ice. Up here it says, here's much ice. Talking about Greenland and Iceland. This is a great map to study, though. You know what I mean? Land unknown is what they call America. Cathay is what they call America. This is the Great Khan. Columbus was looking for the who? Khan. The Grand Khan. Grand Canyon. The city of the Canton ships. Something about pepper and other spices, man. So the Chinese sail upon this ocean. The Chinese sail right here in America. So who are the real Chinese, my naga? The Khan. The China is the Khan. We're talking Cathay. Cathay is Katai, like Kara Katai. Who is the emperor, leading the Kara Katai? The Kariats. Wang Khan. Wang means king. Khan means priest. Priest king, right? Melchizedek. Khan. He's leading the Kara Katai. Katai is Cathay. Cathay just means a pure land. Kara means black, like Carolinas. So a black, pure land, or a pure land of so-called black. But remember, dies the black. We're just talking the copper color Khans. Khan. So where's Sabango? Where's Japan? Cuba. Here's Florida. North America. Let's go. Come on. We gotta dodge these denizens, man. We the natural born. You're the American, so he's looking for the Khan. This is your title. You are the priest, the priesthood, the Hebrew priesthood. The natives of America are the copper-colored races, not black, right? Not black, not wicked, not atrociously wicked. If you're talking about complexion, color, then we're talking copper-colored tribes. Now they applied the title to their descendants that are born here, but they will never be the Khan. They will never be the copper-colored Khans, man. She's like, come on, bro. Come on, man. Let me have my title. Let me have my land. There's no land called black. There's no land called African American. We're not from Africa. And if you know, like we know, this is old Africa. Uh-oh. Old Libya. Uh-oh. Old Egypt. Atlantis. We just talking Atlantis because we just talking Syphilis. Yeah, man. Now we see. Now we see. So now that we know where Kapango is, we can read this. We know we're talking Cuba. Columbus arrived in America. All right, so we know we're in America. He was convinced that the lands where he landed during his voyages were near Cuba. He's in America. Now he's convinced that he's in Kapango or Japan. So you don't get all the way over here to America saying that, I think I'm near Japan. This is the original Japan. This is China. China, China. This is the old world. And they reflected it over there. So what's really over there? Come on, man. That's the $64 million question. So he knows he's near Cuba in front of the gold Malaysia or Sonesis. And such he imagined or imaginated the Marabelia that the European believed to be Eastern Asia located there. He was influenced by texts such as Marco Polo's Million in 1298. All right, all these. He is also deeply attached to the medieval geography described in these works. So we're just talking about the monstrous races, right? The classical myths and medieval monstrous races continue to be transferred to the America. So we're talking Syphilis. And did he pick up the saint of the Syphilises? Because you know they worship the phallus, right? The phalluses are all over the place in America, right? The phalluses, the Syphilises, the sign of Syphilises, the syphilis is everywhere, right? So these dog-headed monsters, races, right? This Atlantis stuff, man. This is all about Atlantis, man. And you're not from Atlantis. Atlantis is a synthetic hijack, splicing and dicing, want to be scientific situation. But when you got 360, you got more science than them. You know what I mean? You got more creativity. You come from the unknown. The framer and the shaper is above their pay grade, man. And the price is going up. And even when it was clear that the lands discovered in the West were part of the new unknown continent, unknown creator, unknown continent, get it? Some of the myths had never had a precise location in the old world, and the discovery of Americas was perceived as a sort of confirmation of the ancient stories reporting the existence of marvelous creatures and places, everything that was not possible to find in their world, right? Because we in the old world, such as outsized 1-foot sciapods, the griffins, we're talking dragons, and unicorns was moved to the New World in order to strengthen the credibility of authors such as Plato, Aristotle, Pliny the Elder, and Seneca, who described these mythological creatures in their works. Now check it. The poet, physician Girolamo Fracastoro even considered America the lost continent of Atlantis. Caramel's, Ben had his foot on this Atlantis hijack. Caramel stayed with his foot on the hijack neck. So this new world we know is America, right? It's America, right? It's Cathay, and they said this must be Atlantis. Look at it, man. Look at it, man. I mean, what did it really look like, right? In his Syphilis Siva Morbis Gallicus, right? A theory later supported by numerous historians and geographers such as Giovanni Lorenzo di Ania. Other myths, even if exactly located in the ancient paradoxography, were moved to America to enrich the new lands with fascinating memorabilia. This attracted the attention of European sovereigns and personalities financing explorations who were unquestionably fascinated by the potential health benefits and wealth offered by the Americas, by the Americas, by the emblem of America, by the copper colored races found here, just now found here. I'm just talking about the Amaru Khan. So they came over here and knew when they saw her, they was in Atlantis. To them, this is all Atlantis, although we know that this is connected with Lemuria and, the ancient Moor. But to them, it's all Atlantis, okay? All right, okay. This is the case, for example, of the Fountain of Youth that Herodotus clearly placed in Ethiopia, but after the discovery of America began to be sought in present-day Florida. What's this here? Florida. They consider Florida, right? Where's the fountain? In Atlantis, right? Prester John got the water, right? Let's go. Because how did Columbus die? Do y'all remember? Y'all remember, man? Columbus died May 20, 1506. At only 55 years of age. That would have mean, remember, Esteban was born in 1500, so if he did capture Esteban or Syphilis, in Ophir or Haiti or any other Ophir in Georgia, it would have been when little Stephen was 6 years old. And then he returned when he was 21 with the Coronado expedition to try to search for all the drop over here in so-called Atlantis. His condition was called gout, but later we know it's connected with this writer's syndrome, a reactive arthritis, or sexually transmitted diseases. Syphilis, cytosyphilis, syphilis, what are we talking about? Yeah, all right, so we're about to get into some more works on the shepherd and surf the wave and see what we connect, man. There's a link I'm looking for that I attached to part 2. Harry, man, Stephen the Christ, right? Stephen the Christ, Esteban the Christ. Ahab to the real ones. Ahab to the real ones. Surfing the wave, man. Deep thoughts. He said, I'm glad you did this. Last year in Cincinnati, they had billboards that said, syphilis is here. The imagery was of a dark-skinned brother in a hoodie with his head down, with his eyes looking up, making it real sinister. These boards were all over town. Deep thought what it do, trading places. Maria McCarthy, they were injected with this syphilis. Yeah, our people were injected with this syphilis. Remember that Tuskegee experiment, man. Moral Khan said, I never liked dogs at all. Remember that picture out there with the dog-headed man playing poker around that table? Yeah, I remember the dog-headed people playing poker, man. You know what I'm saying? With the game of life, the game of chance. They've been putting it out there. Wow. Should be hidden in plain sight. Oh, praise the Most High. I'm so ready to power up, get our indigenous back, our inheritance back. Hey, Moor Khan to go. Israel Sharp, man, said slid in like young Key Sweat. Just beat the tardy bet. That bro's, man, steady surfing, man. Ahab, Israel. AJ, Anthony Johnson says, y'all see them worshiping the devil in Antarctica. Maybe Thoth put the ice up to close our eyes to these things. Maybe, bro. I mean, that's just what we're saying. When did this freeze over take place, man? Kanyada said, Christopher, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Kanyada got the drop. Hey, bro. He said Christopher equals Christ over. Hey, maybe a belly fly, maybe not. Hey, that's not a belly fly, bro. That's a laser. That's an Eliezer right there, bro. For real. Christopher is Christ over, man. All right, man. Keep that in mind, man. Kanyada, what it do? Yosef the Real said Ahab for the Ahab, brother, and we are one drop, one world, one creator, Hawa with multiple possibilities in this matrix, Tawa, Baruch to the tribe, Ahab all across the flat plains. Can't you see? He got a 360 degree. Oh, man. We've been surfing the wave, man. Let's get this link. It might be this right here. I just want to go a little deeper into the medical side of syphilis and bring it back to the shepherd, bring it to the Bejels, you know what I mean? Then talk some Atlantis for the dismount. Pull up this link. All right. Endemic treponematosis. So we're talking syphilis. At least we can talk a little sciencey, a little bit, get medical on them. Bring it back to the reality of what's popping. We're just talking the dog gene. We're talking the dog curse. And when you have sex with dogs, you transmit it in a venereal fashion. When you are a dog, you get it because you've been cursed with this particular disease. You know what I'm saying? So let's go. Okay. The agents of human treponematosis include 4 closely related members of the genus Treponema, 3 subspecies, Treponema pallidum plus Treponema caritium. All right. T. pallidum, all that. Pallidum causes venereal syphilis. So pallidum causes venereal syphilis, while T. pallidum suspect pertenu, all right. All right, man. Are the agents and the endemic trypanomatosis, y'all. So, y'alls is another word for the syphilis or sinus syphilis. All right, these are all, saying more code words, right? What else is another word for it? Bejel, right? I can't make this up. Remember, the J's and the Y's are interchangeable, so just put the Y right there. You got Bejel, Bejel, Bejel. Just so you know, I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. Pull up these links, man. All right, this is the medicine in the Bible and Talmud selections from classical Jewish sources by Fred Rosner. And just go right to it, man. I mean, look, man. I didn't have to do nothing. I didn't have to do nothing but belly flop. I have not read this at all. But we're still just talking this plague, right? The plague which befell the children of Israel when they committed harlotry with the daughters of Moab. I can't believe how much of an easy lay this is, man. And we're just talking about easy lays. Come on, man. Come on, man. I can't make this shit up, man. Come on, man. Body bag, Daniel. Body bag for the illusion. This is a body bag. I'm just saying, why is this thing called Bejel? I recon it for the Y instead of the J. Here we go. Bejel, the y'alls or jaws, huh? Jaws like dogs, like dog jaws. Dogs have, everyone got jaws, but dog jaws, all right, jaws of dogs. Bejel. And then, of course, you break that down to the bays and the L's, right? The bay and L's. Such and such bay, such and such L, right? Bejel. And, of course, you're just talking the Moab. And, again, we're just talking Estebanicos and Moor from Morocco. Or Syphilis. What Native American shepherd? Columbus is famous for bringing syphilis across the water. And until we recon this Native American shepherd called Syphilis, who must have been kidnapped and brought across the water, connected with the dog-headed, right, St. Christopher, connected with the Stephen or Esteban or Estebanico, who might have been kidnapped when he was 6 years old, brought across the water. Then he was told, oh, I am the child of the Son, right? I am the Christ child. I'm the shepherd. What does he do? He comes back and he is used to find cities of gold with the Coronado expedition looking for Cibola, right? Shambhala, 7 cities of gold. We've been surfing the wave, man. But Esteban is Stephen, is Syphilis, possibly, right? So we're just looking at it. And Syphilis is a Native American. Okay. Syphilis is a Native American. Also connected with this Bejel, same as Estevanico, Moor, connected with the Bejel, connected with the what? Syphilis, connected with who? Moab, and the plague which befell the children of Israel when they committed harlotry with the daughters of Moab is referred to as Magafah. Magafah, a term denoting plague, epidemic, infectious disease in general. When the Israelite brothers went in with the daughters of Moab, they got plagued with what? Leprosy. They got plagued with what? Bejel. And it's deeper than a disease, man. They really, a lot of the Israelite brothers started worshiping false gods because of these daughters of Moabs would take them and introduce them to their energies, and they would start going after false gods. It was more than just sex, man. It was like you're hijacking our bros, man, which is hijacking the whole tribe with your Bejel, Moab, Magafah. Now, they're saying that it was a plague, right? Epidemic, infectious disease. Presumably, this particular plague was a venereal disease, probably one resembling syphilis. So they were getting the dog plague, man, the syphilis by going in with the daughters of Moab. Why? Did the daughters of Moab, were they already plagued with the syphili, infectious venereal infection? Think about it, man. Columbus brought syphilis to Spain, right? It spread throughout all of Europe, right? Well, we got the Moors, all throughout Italy, Spain, and back and forth to America. Huh? So sleeping with the daughter of Moab, man, you might get that dog, man. You might get that dog gene, man. You might get that syphilis, man. You might get the syphilis, that Bejel. Jaws, still endemic among nomadic peoples in the Middle East today. The epidemic described in the biblical account claimed 24,000 lives. The 5th chapter of the first book of Samuel tells of an epidemic which must have been bubonic plague, for it was brought about by emerods or rodents, which we know today carry the disease, and outbreak of which probably was dysentery. 2 Kings 19:35 claimed 185,000 victims among the soldiers of King Sennacherib of Assyria. I'm just belly flopping with this one. Wow. Something about that Moab. Again, did they already have this syphili, situation, or was it a plague that the Creator, just plagued them with after the fact, I don't know. It seems like they might have already had the Syphilis. They might have already had the Syphilis, man. I mean, let's go back, though. Let's go back. I don't want to go too far. I don't go too fast. The punishment of God, Book of the Link, social reactions to Syphilis, and the works of Hutton, Fracastoro, Clovis, and Lowe. Now might you see his spring of youth decay, the venture die, the virtue die, the blossoms fall away, the foul infection over his body spread, profanes his bosom and deforms his head. Oh, whoa. Deforms his head? What does this Syphilis do? Does it turn you into a dog head? Uh-oh. The foul infection over his body spread, profanes his body, and deforms his head. His wretched limbs with filth and stench overflow, while flesh divides and shows the bones below. Dire ulcers, can the gods permit them prey on his fair eyeballs and devour their day? While the neat pyramid below falls, moldering quite away. Pyramid below. Uh-oh. It's belly flopping this, man. Just pull the link up. I was going to belly flop and keep connecting it because they were calling the French disease the Napoleon disease. Okay. We can pick it up right here. The first clear assertion common to all four authors is that the French disease was God's punishments for sins of humankind. So some say it was Apollo punishing. This is saying that it was the Creator punishing these sins. What? Bestiality, abomination. It was in this spirit that Christianity interpreted the words of Savonarola's apocryphic message of 1495 that as Almighty God saw the sins of Italy multiplied, he was unable to bear it any longer and decided to cleanse his church with a great scourge. Can you imagine what the Creator was going through? You know what I'm saying? Seeing, this is what the mixing was really all about, man. Seeing the pure water, man, just, turning to dogs, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. And his well-known poem, Fracastoro uses a mythological metaphor to explain why and how this came to happen. How do we know it's mythological? Let's go. Although occurring in ancient times, his account can be extrapolated to the 16th century. In it, the shepherd Syphilis. Hold up, man. Because if you extrapolate to the 16th century, then the 1500s play, and that's where Estebanico, that's where Esteban's and Moor's rocket, Moab, right? In it, the shepherd Syphilis, man, he must be a Moabite or a Canaanite, right? Who takes care of King Alcithous. I can't ever say that name. Alcithous. And we're going to dig on this, this King Alcithous, and see his connection with Atlantis. Because check it out right here. It says King Alcithous' stock. So again, in it, the shepherd Syphilis, who takes care of King Alcithous' stock, angry because extreme heat and persistent drought have befallen upon the kingdom of Atlantis, decides after several blasphemies against Apollo, all right, to adore his king instead of his God. So look, man, you can't be rocking Atlantis and not worship this sun, right? Not worship Apollo. not worship Sirius, the dog star. You're going to have to give it up to who's powering you up. You got a synthetic power up. You got a denizen, right? Power up. But he said, nah, I'm going to go after this other power and I'm going to do my own hijack and to adore his king. So instead, he wanted to adore this Alcithous. This is who he wanted to venerate. The king, overjoyed at the prospect of being treated like a god, ordered the altars dedicated to Apollo to be removed and proclaimed himself the only deity. Fracastoro continues his account with Apollo's reaction. So this is Apollo's reaction. Hijack City. He said, the all-seeing sun no longer could sustain these practices, but with enraged disdain darts forth such pestilent, malignant beams as shed infection on air, earth, and streams. So some say that this infection, was a combination of the air of Saturn, I think it's Mars and Jupiter. Another trinity, right? So you got Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter combining their plagues, right? Their bad air. Let's go. From whence this malady its birth received, and first the offending Syphilis was grieved, who raised forbidden altars on the hill, and victims' blood with impious hands did spill. In pious hands he first wrote buboes dreadful to the sight. He first wore buboes or bubox, something like that, dreadful to the sight. First felt strange pains and sleepless passed the night. From him the malady received its name. The neighboring shepherds catch the spreading flame. At last in city and courts 'twas known, and seized the ambitious monarch on his throne. These verses make clear not only the fact that it is God here identified with Apollo, so that's why we say their God is their dog, right? Not the creator. This is Apollo, who is behind the scourge that afflicts humankind, but also that he has sent his terrible disease because of the sins of all. Nah, man, not all. The French disease recognizes no social boundaries, for society has sinned as a whole, and thus neither peasantry, syphilis, nor urban patriciate or city, nor nobility, court, nor royalty, monarch, or monarch are safe from it. So this reminds you of the plagues of Egypt. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it. And you just learned how Israel, we were just, breaking down how Israel was already getting plagued because they was committing harlotry with the daughters of Moab, who themselves was introducing them to Bejel, right? Or Syphilis. Yeah, this link got the drop. This link got the drop. I'm just surfing it, man. It got so much more in here. Then it started talking about I don't know what this is saying. It claimed Job. All right, as a patron. The syphilitic cures was being born in the context of Christian Reformation. So they were looking for the cure. Now they had a couple cures. One, they said they had mercury. They were trying to use mercury as a cure. And sometimes it would cause more harm. You know what I mean? Consequently, the fact that remedies did appear and they did so fairly soon could only be explained if these also came directly from God, without whom humankind was definitely doomed. What they talking about? That their Apollo gave them a cure? Ulrich von Hutten exhorts the reader to give thanks upward unto God, both for good and you, how much are we bound for the gifts of guaiacum. Now this guaiacum is supposed to be the indigenous cure. It's called guaiacum. And even more deeply or clearly, he affirms that this medicine to be given us of God, singe, hit, never help, except a man be given to holiness of life. So it won't even help you unless you are rocking pure water. Close suggests that we should forget not to be thankful unto our good and gracious God that has ordained such remedies for our comfort, help, and profit, and even Lowe, whose tract is much more theologically sober than the previous two, says that he has learned the treatments which he proposes with God's help. This is their words. If they're getting herbs from the indigenous, then, it's likely it's coming from the creator, right? You're just talking about the natural, you know what I'm saying? But, with these guys, man, who knows who has their hands in what? Who knows who has their hands in what? Man, so go through this drop because I could tell there's a major drop in here. I just got to keep it flowing. I haven't read it yet, so, I'm just checking it out. Yeah, man. There's a lot of drop in here, man. You keep hearing about this King Charles. And just keep it in mind, man. So you're dealing with Moab, right? Yeah, you already know that. You're dealing with Canaanite, you already know that. What else are we dealing with, man? The whole Confederacy, right? What does King Charles represent, right? We'll get it, man. We'll get it. Yeah, man. All right, man. Keep surfing the wave on that. Let's go. Remember, we're just talking cynocephaly. Cynocephaly. Having the head of a dog or a jackal. And all throughout the script, you got, a warning from the creator that your land will be a den of jackals, right? A den of cynocephaly. Trained dogs, man. War dogs, right? Look at this picture, man. This is a war dog, all right? He's trained for war. He got his armor. He got his shield. This is what we are up against. You dig? Cynocephaly. Human intelligence, okay. And of course, it connects with this Atlantis, which would, is connecting what to the Egyptian gods? Huh? Back to the Anubis, right? Is Anubis there, Stephen? There's Syphilis, there, all this shit is popping off, man. It seems at the same damn time. Wrote a detailed report on the existence of Syphilis in India, right? Which one? So let's go. Like I said, we just getting medical, man. Just getting medical. That's why when you see this Bejel, remember, all we talking about is Bejel. Bay and Els, right? The Bejels get it bigger. Bejel, right? Y'all's Jaws, Moab, with permission of the Pharaoh, Atlantis, Symexa. Remember all that map? So we know we're just digging on the energy of Atlantis. So when Esteban is saying he's from Atlantis and Tao's from Moor, and the people been warring against each other, they're letting you know it's a frequency war. This is biological chemical warfare right here. All human trypanomatosis share remarkable similarities in pathogenesis and clinical manifestations consistent with the high genetic, anti-genetic relatedness of their etiological agents. Distinctive features have been identified in terms of age and acquisition, most common mode of transmission, and capacity for invasion of the central nervous system in fetus, although the accuracy of these reported differences is debated among investigators, and no biological basis for these differences has been identified to date. 2012, the World Health Organization officially set a goal for yawl's eradication by 2020. They're still trying to eradicate Syphilis, Bejel. This challenging but potentially feasible endeavor is favored by the adoption of oral azithromycin for mass treatment. Look out for their treatment. Because remember, there's an indigenous treatment. We're going to get more about it. For mass treatment and currently focused distribution of yaws and epidemic trypanomatosis, and has revived global interest in these fascinating diseases and their causative agents. Okay. You're just talking about a venereal syphilis. It wasn't venereal when they found the dog-headed people. It became venereal when they started fucking the dog-headed people, man. That's the best way. I don't know how else to say it. Laying down, having sex, you know. Now it's a venereal situation. Now it's venereal. So the children of Israel, these brothers laying down with these sisters, venereally is breaking them out into a venereal disease, a Bejel, a Syphilis. Columbus died of a sexually transmitted disease. Can't make this shit up. So let's get it. We're just getting some of the details. So, of course, they also have other names for it. Spirocanatelli, Spirocanateccae, and the genus Treponema. Syphilis, yaws, and Bejel, Spirochetes were originally classified as separate species, but now considered to be subjects of Treponema palladine. All right, man. All right. You get the picture. Just so you know, we can get more sciencey and digging on this dog J. Because at the end of the day, you're talking about these infectious lesions, man. And that's what get us thinking back into the leprosy. And then we got another link that said it was sometimes misdiagnosed as leprosy. Skin breaks in the skin, traumatic, etiology, scabies. They also say y'all is a carrot words for sore, ya. Huh. Gotta dodge them y'alls, man. Gotta dodge them y'alls. The primary lesion called the mother yaw. Hey, you can dig on the graphics of it all. But, I can't even, I'm just going to scroll right by it. You got the drop. You got the link if you want to stare at the graphics of it all. We're just talking about Bejel, right? Epidemic syphilis, acute infection, acute affection. Man, oh man, it's all bad. It's all bad, man. So yeah, a lot to do with these lesions. You keep seeing about these lesions. Epidermis lesions, venereal syphilis, the blood vessels show limited or no endothelial proliferation. Here we go with the HIV connection. Okay. More of their, you know what I'm saying? This is just more of their wicked science, man. Murderous science. Death. Back to the Colombian hypothesis. Remember, we got a piece of this last time. So, of course, they're blaming Colombo. Right? But, you know, he just took a bro named Syphilis on a journey. Here we go. Supporters of the pre-Columbian hypothesis believe that syphilis existed in the old world. They're talking Europe and Africa, right? Prior to 1493, but that it was misdiagnosed as leprosy and other illnesses. Keep that in mind. So go back to the script, man, with this leprous situation. Leviticus 13. Let's dig on it. And when a man shall have the skin of his flesh a rising or a scab or a bright spot, and it become in the skin of his flesh the plague of leprosy, right? Translation, misdiagnosis. Then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. And the priest shall look upon the plague in the skin of the flesh, and if the hair in the plague be turned white, if the hair in the plague be turned white, and the appearance of the plague be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is the plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. Unclean. So it was unclean to rock with the daughters of Moab, which resulted in this epidemic plague, this leprous plague, this Bejel, Syphilis, dog plague that should not even be in the human stream, right? But someone is fucking on some dogs, dog-headed, venereal situation. And now, hey, it's a common thing, right? So it was misdiagnosed as leprosy or other illnesses, which the priest pronounce you unclean. You got that dog gene, you unclean. Then they reflected that in the New Testament, right? And if the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and the appearance thereof be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague 7 days, and the priest shall look on him in the 7th day, and behold, if the plague stay in his appearance, and the plague be not spread in the skin, Then the priest shall shut him up 7 more days. And the priest shall look on him again the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be dim and the plague be not spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scab spread abroad in the skin after that he have shown himself to the priest for his cleansing, he shall show himself to the priest again, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the scab be spread in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in the man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall look, and behold, if there be a white rising in the skin, and if it have turned the hair white, and there be a quick raw flesh in the rising, right? Lesions, right? It is old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. Old leprosy. Old leprosy. We're talking ancient syphilis, man. You know, because these syphilises, these sinus syphilises are connected with Atlantis. They're also ancient, you know what I'm saying, and their own creation story, having to do with Atlantis. So splicing and dicing. Old, ancient, misdiagnosed as leprosy. With regards to this disease evolution, Hackett, perhaps the most renowned pre-Columbus, proposed that because of the long period of infectiousness, Penta was the earliest of the known treponematoses to appear in Africa or Asia, possibly as a zoonotic infection. Rising of the skin. And if, verse 12, if the leprosy break abroad the skin, and the leprosy cover over the skin of him that hath the plague from his head to his feet, as far as appearance to the priest. Man, hold on, man. Head to feet. Syphilis is what they were trying to coin as leprosy, right? Venereal. Yaws, epidemic syphilis, Bejel, Penta is another name for it, collectively constitute the endemic trypanomatosis. Yaws or jaws is transmitted by direct skin contact. Primary affects children younger than 15. The kids were dying, man, with the peak incident in those aged 6 to 10 years, similar to syphilis. Yaws can persist for years as a chronic relapsing disease, man. You know what I mean? So you see, it gets real chronic. So it could be a venereal, it could just be spread with just skin to skin. I mean, this thing is real nasty. This thing is real ugly. Verse 15, and the priest shall look at his raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. The raw flesh is unclean. The lesions, it is leprosy. But the raw flesh again be turned white. Then he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the plague be turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. Then that hath the plague, he is clean. All right, so you're just talking about the skin and boils on the skin, man. You see what we're talking about? Or when the flesh hath in the skin thereof of a burning by fire, and quick flesh of the burning become a bright spot. I mean, we're just talking about leprosy, right? Let's go. We're just talking about leprosy, right? We're just talking about this infectious disease, the Bejels. So now that we got the Bejels together, let's dig on for the dismount. Let's dig on this ancient king, Alcithous, right? Who had a shepherd lad called Syphilis. So his shepherd lad doesn't have to be his son. It could just be, someone that he's rearing up or raising up, to be a shepherd of his flock. His flock would be more Syphilises, right? More Anubises. One day, old Sirius, the dog star with his mighty flame during the summer solstice to us came. All right. So they had this beef with Apollo, this whole thing. His beast expiring, didn't the Syphilis turn his horror of the brazen heaven, braving the sun so torrid, terror even, gazing upon his face and speaking thus, O son, how we endure, a slave to you, a slave to Sirius, a slave to Apollo. All right, man. All right. Another document that breaks down this syphilis perspective connected with Atlantis is the life and pontificate of Leo the 10th. Uh-oh. Yeah, man, Leo. And it also connects with the same poem, possibly a different translation of it. Pull it up. Pick it up from right here. It says the title of this singular poem is derived from the shepherd Syphilis, who is supposed to have kept the herds, right? The shepherd, the herds of Alcithous, a sovereign of Atlantis. This connects to Estebanico more than you think. Esteban's from Atlantis. Stephen's from Atlantis. Moab, with permissions of the Pharaoh. Atlantis, a maxim. Frequency war. So he wanted to venerate Alcithous of Atlantis. He didn't want to venerate Apollo. Apollo got pissed, cursed him, right? All right, let's go. So Alcithous, right? Because Alcithous has a shepherd lad, Syphilis. So Syphilis is coming right under this Atlantis situation. He kept the herds of Alcithous, who's a sovereign of Atlantis, and who, having become impatient of the scorching rays of the summer sun, refused with impious expression to pay his sacrifices to Apollo, but raising an altar to Alcithous, worshipped the sovereign as his divinity. He worshipped the king of Atlantis. Exasperated at this indignity, Apollo infected the air with noxious vapors, in consequence of which Syphilis contracted a loathsome disease, which displayed itself in ulcerous eruptions over his body. Eruptions over his body, right? Back to that leprosy. So this leprosy throughout the script is connected to Atlantis. a plague of Egypt, right? Egypt was plagued. Atlantis was plagued. Syphilis. All that splicing and dicing backfired, turned into plague. So Apollo affected the air. All right, syphilis got the disease, which displayed itself in his ulcers, eruptions all over his whole body. The means adopted for his restoration to health and the circumstances by which the remedy was communicated to Europe form a principal part of the subject of the poem, which throughout the whole displays a degree of elegance and propriety of poetical ornament scarcely to be expected from so unpromising a topic as what? Syphilis. Yeah, man. Okay. You got the link. Now, this is interesting because it goes into this remedy, right? The powers of which were then well known and the use of which is fully explained. The author has introduced a beautiful episode in which he explains the internal structure of the earth, the great operations of nature and the formations of metals, of the gloomy splendor of her subterranean temples, her caverns, her mines. This region he has peopled with poetical beings, among whom the nymph Lepari presides over the streams of quicksilver, into which the diseased visitant is directed to plunge himself thrice. So they got to get plunged in the quicksilver now. We also read that mercury was a cure, but what's better than mercury, right? One is this herb, that they're finding, and we'll get that name again, like guana something, right? But then we have the streams of quicksilver. What does that remind you of? What does that remind you of? Streams of quicksilver reminds us of the alchemical dragon versus the alchemical serpent. One is an impersonal breaking into consciousness, right? The serpent is an impersonal nature of the unconscious. The fox is the serpent. The fox is the serpent, right? The jackal is the serpent. Come on, man. The Japanese. Now we know we got Japan in America, man. So we got Japanese in America, man. Kapangu. We got Japan, which is Cuba. Japanese, huh? Uh-oh. Look, man, we know that according to Barlius, found among the North American indigenous Nagas, all right, an account of the fall of man through disobedience and the loss of paradise and the events connected with it. The jackal, right? The fox, the jackal, right? The fox, the jackal. Remember the Hebrew, you know what I mean? Tan is jackal, tannin, Tannin is dragon. So you have the jackals and dragons being mixed up through translations all day. You got to go back through that. The creator's telling you your home, your land will be a den of jackals, man, if you ain't listening. That's Atlantis. The jackals are Egypt. The jackals are Atlantis. Dog-headed Syphilis. Now you got Bejel. Now you got leprosy. The jackal is the tempter. The tempter is the jackal, is the serpent. So they need to be cured of this plague by going back into the water, the streams of quicksilver, they're just, trying to get rid of their impersonal, dog-headed nature. Impersonal nature, right? Unconscious, bursting into conscious by eating the dragon, eating you. Okay. We went to the dragon and it says the alchemical dragon represents the philosophical what? Quicksilver. Unlike ordinary mercury. So mercury's not the cure. That's just hijacked. They're just hijacking the philosophical quicksilver, right? The philosopher's stone, right? We're just talking platonic solids, love to the temp, love to Terrence Howard, man. So they got to go back into quicksilver to get cured. Come on, they got to go to the dragon to get cured, man. Y'all see it? The serpent, the fox, the serpent, the jackal, the serpent, the jackal, the fox, the dog has to go to the dragon, right? To get the quicksilver. Because it's unlike Thoth, man. They got to get away from Thoth. The philosophical quicksilver is a mysterious substance of unknown origin. And if it's unknown to the alchemist, my naga, you're talking about way unknown, man. You're talking about what Thoth would call the greater light in the emerald tablets. You're talking about the creator. They got to go to the creator to be cured by the waters. You're talking about the vessel that contains the real spirit. They got to go to the spirit. They got to go to the ruach, the dragon. Some alchemical text mentions a process to identify the spirit or soul of all things. The dragon is prepared from the philosopher's venom. Mercurius fires up the primordial dragon. Man, we're talking the quicksilver, the mysterious substance. Giving it wings, raise your kundalini, right? In the physical sense, this is the process of vaporization. The universal spirit, the creator, is in the blood of that dragon. So the dragon's only representing the divine water and power. We're just talking about the water. We're talking about the quicksilver, man. Why they had to go? Why they gotta go to the silver, man? Why they gotta go? Lepari presides over the streams of quicksilver, the dragon, right? The fountain into which the diseased visitant is directed to plunge himself 3 times, and on his restoration to health and his return to the regions of day, not to forget to pay his vows to Diana and to chaste nymphs of the sacred fountain. So now they're hijacking the what? Prester John's Fountain of Youth, man. Let's go. And this is a great drop, so you can kind of, go back through the poetry of this particular, Syphilis. This Stephen, continues the central theme of natural causation, potential elevation, but in a different manner, following the traditions of Latin epic poetry. Fracastoro now constructs a myth to illustrate both the dangers of human hubris and the power of salvation through knowledge. He begins by giving the usual sage advice about elevation via good living, lots of vigorous exercise, healthy, frugal diet, and no sex. This regimen addresses to males only, prescribes sex only as a drain upon the bodily energy. So fellas, man, you got to store up your energy, man. Remember how they said Prester John only, laid down with his wife or his wives, 4 times out the year, something like that. Other than that, he was chaste. Being chaste doesn't mean, that you never procreate. It just means that, you ain't just wasting your energy all day. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go, man. For Francisco did not yet understand the venereal transmission of syphilis. Then it says, I'm just reading the commentary. Part 2 then extols the virtues of mercury as a cure. For this context, mercury can, in fact, retard the spread of the syphilis spirochete, but Fracatoro interpreted its benefits only in terms of humoral rebalancing and the purging of poisons. For mercury plasters induce sweating, while ingestion encourages copious spitting. So this mercury was also jamming people up. The treatment, he admitted, may be unpleasant. So the mercury gives you a very unpleasant type of treatment, okay? The treatment, he admitted, may be unpleasant in the extreme. So this is going to be extremely painful and unpleasant. Dealing with Thoth. To go to Thoth for the cure, he's going to put you through extreme displeasure, but ever so preferable to dementia, paralysis, and death. So if you don't want dementia, paralysis, and death, go to Thoth, but it will be unpleasant in the extreme. Or, or you can hit up that stream of quicksilver and understand that the quicksilver is unlike ordinary mercury. It's the mysterious substance of unknown origin, where the living spirit can be extracted. We're talking the dragon. So you got to go home, man. You got to go to the fire, the water, the ether, the earth, man. You got to get back to the water to get your power back. We're just talking the alchemical dragon, which is not the alchemical serpent, the impersonal nature just now bursting into consciousness. This is the unconsciousness. It's impersonal unconsciousness. And they have to eat you. They have to create your opposites through the act of conscientio. Conscientio, right? Put the cons in Sheol. Put the cons in hell, right? Put the cons in Sheol. Conscientio, right? The bringing together of opposites. So they created your opposites. Who? The Moor on Moor war, man, the frequency war. Not only did they splice and dice, but yeah, they created your opposites who also carry this Syphilis genetics. These are your opposites that inherited your land by invasion. These are the opposites that came over here, man, and rode up on our queens, rode up on Khalifa. She's like, damn, what is this? Our opposites? These are your opposites, man, that stole your titles, that stole your priesthood, that stole your what? Your Khan. Because you are the original. Copper color Khan. And they're doing the conscientio. And they're trying to put that mercury on you, man, right? They're trying to put that mercury on you. Fracastoro therefore added a third part to describe the new remedy in the mythic form previously applied to mercury. The same plot, but this time with a shepherd named Syphilis in place of the hunter Eliseus. And thus with thanks to the readers for their patience, we finally come to Fracastoro's reason and motives for naming Syphilis. And they also got this medieval form, this Syphilis, son of Neob, and Ovid's Metamorphosis. So that's another thing you can dig on, man. Because Columbus just wanted to find great riches in a new world, but incur the wrath of the sun god by killing the sacred parrots. So they started killing these birds, man. This Apollo promises horrible retribution in the form of a foul disease. But just as the sailors fall to their knees to beg the sun god's forgiveness, a group of natives arrive, a race with human shape but black as jet. In Tate's translation, they too suffer from syphilis and have come to the Parrot's Grove to perform an annual rite that recalls the origin of their misfortune and also permits them to use the curative powers of local botany. These people, we learn, are the degraded descendants of the race that inhabited the lost island of Atlantis. Well, we got Haiti right here. What does it say right here? It says, here's the great Attilia, which is Plato's Atlantis. So, according to this 1500 Henry VII map of America that has China over North America, Cathay Khan of China, Japan, where Cuba would be, Ophir or Haiti right here. Okay. And then you got Atlantis right on the side of Florida, man. Atlantis, right? They had already suffered enough in losing their ancestral lands and flocks. But a horrendous heat wave then parched the new island and fell with special fury on the king's shepherd. A shepherd once distrust not ancient fame, possessed these downs and Syphilis his name. 1,000 heifers in these vales he fed, 1,000 ewes to those fair rivers led. This drought our Syphilis beheld with pain, nor could the sufferings of his flock sustain. But to the noonday sun with upcast eyes, I rage and rage through these reproaching blasphemies. Syphilis cursed the sun, destroyed Apollo's altars, and then decided to start a new religion. Christ, right? Stephen the Christ. This is their Christ, man. This is the new religion. This is the excellent new tomb. It's the origin based on this Atlantis Egyptian hijack, based on worship, direct worship of his local king, Alcithous, the king. In turn, heartily approved his new arrangement. The king of who? Atlantis. This is his lad, his shepherd lad. He worshipped his king of Atlantis. You got the drop. We just talking Quicksilver. And they are the impersonal, unconscious. And you are the mysterious substance of unknown origin. You are the spirit, the ruach, the living spirit that is in the blood of the Naga. Because the fox is the serpent, the dog, the jackal. This is out of the Athenium, or spirit of the English. So this is their ruach. This is their spirit, right? The shepherd Syphilis was employed in watching the herds belonging to Alcithous, king of Atlantis. So if Columbus came to Ophir, if Christopher came to Ophir, and he, let's say, picked up this Haitian or this Ophirian Native American called Syphilis, brought him back to Spain. I mean, you see how close Atlantis is to Ophir, right? You see how close all this is. So Esteban could have been picked up right over here, brought over there, and then came back with a bunch of hijacks. Is that why he was murdered? Is that why he was slain, martyred in New Mexico in 1539? Now, Alcithous is the king of Atlantis, man. So he worshipped the king of Atlantis. Syphilis worshipped the king of Atlantis, not Apollo. He deified the king of Atlantis, which is the king of all of Egypt. One, which is the king of Moab, because with permission of the Pharaoh, is the only way they roll, right? With permission of the Pharaoh is the only way they roll, right? With permission of the Pharaoh is the only way they roll. Hijack City. With permission of the Pharaoh is the only way the Moabite rolls, right? Come on, break it on down. We're just talking Atlantis, Moroccan Empire, Moab, right? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. They had to cross this Atlantis, right? The Atlantic Ocean, right? With permission of the Pharaoh, it's the only way they roll, man. Under the Pharaoh's permission. Read it with me. Under the Pharaoh's permission. So this is also called Africa, and this is also called Africa. And that's Northeast Africa. This is Northwest Africa. And you see, it's just Ham and Cush, Ham and Cush. This is the Atlantean Canaanite. This is the Atlantean Moabite. This is the Bejel, the Bejel. This is Hijack City. This is the perspective of Hijack City. Everything's Africa, people. They found you in Northwest Africa under the permission of the Pharaoh of Atlantis, the king of Atlantis. That Syphilis or Esteban is worshiping the king of Atlantis. Columbus is worshiping the king of Atlantis. Who's the king of Atlantis? The shepherd Syphilis was employed in watching the herds belonging to Alcithous, the king of Atlantis. Apollo, in revenge, erected an altar to his master, and in revenge, Syphilis erected an altar to this Alcithous. Stung with the indignity, Apollo infected the air with such noxious vapors. All right, so that's what we got. Now here we got this Nebuchadnezzar playing, which we connected with this Genghis Khan, Shalmaneser, right? It was an account of the shade that the gardens of Ardon, or we're talking Edom, the paradise of the Arabian poets, were so enthusiastically celebrated in Amatis. They also call Atlantis Amatis, the daughter of Astyages, and the wife of Nebuchadnezzar. Now this is taking you right to Daniel, right? Man, love to. I think my sister dropped something on Daniel, connecting it already, connecting it with Babylon and Daniel, and what they're up against. They're up against Atlantis. Oh, then it goes into the Jupiter connections, man. Yeah, man. The gardens of the Moors appear to have resembled those of the East in no considerable degree. Their walks were paved with marble, their parterres shaded by orange trees and embellished with baths, man. Yeah, you're talking Seville, you're talking the Moorish gardening, man, with permission of the Pharaoh. With permission of the Pharaoh, man. Under the Pharaoh's permission. They can't move without the king of Atlantis. They can't move without the king of Atlantis, man. That's all we're talking about, man. We just had to, get a nice, roundup because, all throughout this, you're going to keep seeing Charles's name all over the place. This is the one who's, signing off on a lot of this. And when you think Charles V, just remember, oh, man, come on, man. Okay. Let's get that back, though. Charles V, the one who's signing this off, especially in the Cities of Gold cartoon. You're going to keep seeing this Charles V, man, popping up all throughout it. Hold up. Charles V is hiding again. He's hiding again. Don't make me get it again. Black Quinto, Charles V. All right, man. There we go. So you see it at the bottom, right? You see it at the bottom. Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, 1500 to 1558. Esteban was born in 1500, right? How's the King of Atlantis rocking? Is the King of Atlantis still rocking in 1500 with Syphilis? Does that mean the King of Atlantis is still rocking? Who's the King of Atlantis? Who was being venerated? I see Charles's paws all over the place, man. I see Charles Quinto's paws all over the place. Is this the King of Atlantis, man? Oh, man, we just surfing the wave. Form and meaning in the myth of Syphilis. You dig on it, man. The Georgics. Uh-oh. We're just talking Georgia, huh? Another drop, I ain't even peeped this one, but I see it's connected, with the same Fracastoro. For he looked to Holy Virgil. Make sure we good. Okay. Let's make a dismount right here. For this he looked to Holy Virgil as his guide and found the Aristaeus myth a suitable noble model. He openly reveals his debt by echoing the keys deuce at the beginning of that tale in his own poem. What God revealed these practices to these people recalls Virgil's what God, Moses, invented this art for us. Indeed, Virgil's entire Alcithous performs a function very similar to Fracastoro's. Virgil in the Apelius raises onto a mythical plane the ideas he discusses throughout the first three in one have books concerning the nature of work, the relationship between humanity and nature, as well as the nature of humanity and the nature of the gods, right? Like Apollo, Fracastorius Altion operates in precisely this way, poetically and mythically, not diagnostically. The basic outline of the Epilion is simple. The frame is the journey of Columbus. It begins with his ships at sea, his prayers for direction, his landing in Ophir. Christopher. Huh? He lands in Ophir, right? Christopher, love to the bro Khan, right? In response to the European slaughter of the island's sacred birds. Are we talking the phoenix, man? The dragon? One of the birds prophesies hardship. One of the birds prophesies hardship, disaster, and disease. So one of these birds was prophesying, one of these sacred birds was prophesying about their hardship, disaster, and disease, which the Europeans will have to suffer. The natives of Ophir then approach the white man, make a treaty, and celebrate with feasting, drinks, and games. So treaties were made, huh? While viewing a religious ritual of the natives, man, in which the priests treat diseased people with an indigenous plant. Let's get it for the dismount. Now we're talking about an indigenous cure, right? Is it connected with the quicksilver or the mercury, right? Columbus recognizes the disease as the very one foretold by the prophetic bird. He asks the king of the natives the origin of the rites, and in reply, the king tells the two inset tales. The first is about the god's destruction of Atlantis, Atlantia, the home of the natives' ancestors. We know they're calling all of this Atlantia. We know we're talking Moor. The second concerns the punishment of another ancestor, the shepherd Syphilis. So Columbus, come on, man. We've been connecting the shepherd Syphilis with Columbus, even though they've just connected syphilis with Columbus. We said, well, the shepherd Syphilis seems to be connected with Saint Christopher. Saint Christopher, right? Saint Christopher is said to do what? His most famous legend tells that he carried a child who was unknown. Syphilis was unknown across a river before the child revealed himself as Christ. And I say, is Syphilis their Christ? Is the Syphilis Anubis their Christ? Now he's the patron saint of travelers like Columbus, Christ, Ophir, love to the bro. So Saint Christopher is supposed to be way back in the 200s, but now we're saying that this is really Christopher Columbus. It's looking like, it's connecting, right? And remember the time shift, so they already shifted your time over 1,000 years. You could shift it back. And this Christopher carried a child who was unknown to him, right? This child, then he realized his child was the shepherd. He carried this child, this St. Christopher carried a child. And we said, now you also got this Stephen, this St. Stephen, all right, who connects with this Esteban. Esteban, if you remember that link that we put up, Esteban the Moor, right? Just pull up the wiki just to get his born day, right? He's born in 1500, right? Columbus dies when? According to their recon, 1506. 1506, Esteban would be 6 years old. And we're getting here from St. Christopher that he carried a child across the river. Could it be this Stephen here? Because you're just talking about little Stephen. And last time we started digging on this Stephen the Christ. The Christ-like martyr. You can go into like Jesus, then Stephen is arrested, so they're comparing Stephen with Jesus. Remember, Esteban is the child of the sun. The son. Is he the child carried? Is he the syphilis? Is he the syphilis? Did he get baptized and lose his dog-like countenance, but still he was, you know what I'm saying, he was taken out, you know what I mean, in New Mexico because they knew he was an abomination in their pure Hawiku, their pure land, the promised land. You don't come into the promised land as a dog, right? Not as a Syphilis. I mean, we're just talking Stephen the Christ. So this would be Stephen, and this would be Saint Christopher or Columbus, the dog-headed. So we say, is Columbus a Syphilis? Is that why he died of this syphilis, right? Is it because he's already a Syphilis? Is that why he died of what they're calling sexually transmitted diseases? And why is Stephen venerated? Is he the one that was brought across the water? His most famous legend tells that he carried a child, right? Saint Christopher, the doghead, carried a child. Is this why they're side by side? Is this the child he carried? That's really Estebanico, who would have been 6 years old with Columbus at that time. He was sold to a Spanish nobleman, Mustafa Zamora. We're just talking more, right? We're just talking more, which means we're only talking with permission of the Pharaoh, under the Pharaoh's permission, under Pharaoh's permission, under Pharaoh's permission. Moroccan Empire is not just over there in the tip of Africa right here. All this is Morocco. Morocco is Atlantis, which is why Syphilis is worshiping the king of Atlantis. Which is why Syphilis is worshiping the king of Atlantis, man. And which is also why when you talk Moor and you're talking Moab, right? You're talking Atlantis. And what they say about them daughters. The plague which befell the children of Israel when they committed harlotry with the daughters of Moab is referred to this Bejel, this Syphilis. So it's all getting closer. It's all getting closer, man, to a pure visage, you know what I mean? Clarity. The etymology of dragon is to see clearly. We're talking of quicksilver, the mysterious substance, unknown origin, the living water, the living spirit. They needed that water to be cured of their leprosy, their syphilis. They needed to go back to the Drakan to get the water. Who's the child? Syphilis, right? Who's the child? Who's the child carried? Who's the Native American shepherd, Syphilis, that was carried? This Native American from Ophir, right? Christ Ophir. Christ Ophir. Well, who are you? Managa, you are the Khan. You are the copper color race, the tribe of Israel found here in Cathay. And we know that this Atlantis frequency has been hijacking this Poseidon, Atlantis, Canaanite frequency has been the reason to dodge the hijacks at all costs. And we're just coming back into full mem with the water, the living spirit, the water. We're just coming back into full mem to overstand that the flock, that the fox is the jackal, man. That this is the Syphilis, that this is the serpent. That this is the dog-headed saint, the reprobus, with the head of a dog, the head of a dog. And they were also said to be of enormous size. So they were like giant dog-headed people. So you're fighting the giants and the dog heads all at once, man. You're just talking about the Canaanites, the Canaanite, right? And from there you can follow the breadcrumbs back to the king of Atlantis. That's why we stay up, man. That's why we suit up and dodge the hijacks at all costs. Because you're just talking Zeus. You're just talking Thoth. You're just talking Anubis. Esteban. The anonymous life of Fracastorius tells us that he spent his time in curing the disease. The divine power seemed always to attend his endeavors above the sordid desire of gain, and thought himself best rewarded in the health of his patient. This kind of altruism was perhaps the greatest consequence of God's punishment. Caesar Borgia, Jesus, also fell prey to syphilis. That's where they get the image, right? The iconoclast image of this Jesus. He also had syphilis. He was also a syphilis. Oh, dang, man. I didn't expect to see that. We didn't expect to see that. Christopher. Hey, man, we're just talking about Ophir, man, which means we're talking about our queen. We're talking about reality, man. And you are and will always be the emblem of America. All praise our creator, the unknown origin to the hijack, the mysterious substance to the hijack. We quam, we rise, y'all stay in the flow, stay on the stream, and stay in the ether, and stay up, choose up. And always, man, we quam for Hawa. We tribe up for Hawa. We con up for Hawa. We remember. We remember the mem, the mama. We do it for her. We speak reality for her, man. Allow Hawa to the real ones, man. Shalom to the home team. Tawada for surfing the wave.